Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is running against a candidate made famous by, in part, saying, "You're fired." Well, DeSantis now, not because he wants to, but because he has to, is saying, "Well, you're laid off." DeSantis is shedding more than a third of his campaign staff. He's let go of 38 people since the start of April in a bid to keep financially afloat through the fall. That number, 38, includes roughly 10 laid-off event staffers the campaign had previously announced were being let go. This move comes as DeSantis lags far behind former President Trump, that's the one who used to say, "You're fired," in national and early state primary polls. For more on all this, Caitlin Huey-Burns and Finn Gómez join us now. Caitlin is CBS News political correspondent. Finn is CBS News political director. Happy to have you both at the table. Caitlin, what do we know?
Well, this is, according to the campaign manager, an effort to streamline operations, to well position them into the fall campaign, to make them competitive not only against the Republican field, but also against Joe Biden. But this also comes, as we've talked about before, where you just have not seen movement in this race. That's a kind of a remarkable difference from 2020, where we did see a lot of movement among Democrats at this time. It's summer. This is when people are heating up or cooling down. We've seen kind of a steady trajectory for Donald Trump. And then we have these early state polls, which this is where the decisions are made, are in these early states, that show that DeSantis has not he's not as competitive as many would like him to be, especially as someone who came into this race, kind of positioned himself as the person that could be that alternative to Donald Trump. And
Finn, let's take a look at some polling data that shows the favorability trajectory for Governor DeSantis over these past many months. Down by about 11 percentage points, if not more. So not only is his favorability suffering, his campaign, at least on the hard money side, the actual presidential campaign, we'll talk about the super PAC in a second, is having to tighten its belt.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Monmouth poll that you just referenced does show, I mean, in real numbers, his trajectory, and it's a downward spiral right now. Well, spiral might be a little strong. They're trying to avoid that. They're trying to fix the trajectory, right the ship, if you will. I have spoken to some of his rivals from other camps who said that this has echoes of Scott Walker. It has echoes of Jeb Bush from previous cycles. Those are
two campaigns that raised a lot of money but couldn't manage it and ultimately flamed out.
Right, exactly. So
one earlier than the other, Walker much earlier than Bush, but they both flamed out.
Right, and I think it's early. Things change, as we know, but one senior advisor to another campaign said that they believe that DeSantis got lulled into this false sense of strength following the midterms. After that, when he was so high and he had the momentum, but didn't realize that a good day running as an incumbent governor is nothing compared to is the worst day running as an incumbent governor is like an average day running for president. And that's what, in essence, he avoided media. He avoided, he only went to friendly outlets. And essentially this did him a disservice, really they're looking to right the ship. They're focused on the debate stage. We'll see if that could be a game changer.
Now, Caitlin, there are other examples on the Republican side. There are just a couple of campaigns going through a massive retooling and surviving. McCain did it in 2007, went on to become the Republican nominee in 2008. Ronald Reagan famously fired John Sears right before the New Hampshire primary because he lost in the Iowa caucuses in 1980. Oh, by the way, he becomes the nominee, two-term American president. So you can go through these harsh moments. We have to make tough decisions and bounce back. The DeSantis campaign clearly believes it can bounce back, but how?
Yeah, that they do. And they feel like there is enough time. There's 6 months before voters start to actually weigh in Iowa. So they feel like the fundamentals of the race that still exist, that he is best positioned and that he has a story to tell. But the differences are, you mentioned McCain in 2007. You also have a trajectory of Jeb Bush in 2015, who fired a lot of people in October, had to rejigger the campaign. Campaign shakeups do happen. They happen for a reason. But that was an instance where it didn't pan out. He didn't win any of the early states and dropped out after South Carolina. The big question is going to be the debate, whether that can change the trajectory. But there's also this question question of whether Donald Trump shows up to that debate or not. A lot of these candidates want him to be on the stage because they need him to be there because they need to show that they can be the alternative to him. If he's not there, they're kind of squabbling amongst themselves as their own kind of sub-team, while he, can afford to evade some of these traditional environments.
And Finn, very quickly, Mitt Romney, Republican senator from Utah, had an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal telling Republicans, look, if you're struggling later on in this campaign, meaning by January, February, you need to get out. Essentially saying donors can't make that decision. People close to those campaigns need to basically have an intervention to pull them out. I'm not sure if he's talking about DeSantis, but he's talking about anyone who's struggling early next year.
Yeah, he gave a target deadline of February 26, 2024. That's following the first primary state contest, of course, and and really in the crux of the primary race. The problem here is a couple things. One is Mitt Romney was the last nominee before Donald Trump in 2012. Party's changed a lot in 13 years, a lot. This is not the same party, and you can't really have that sort of coordination. It's very hard. It's like herding lions, if you will. This is not easy. Larry Hogan, when he initially was testing a potential run and bowed out before he really started, he essentially said the same thing. There's going to be a collision course where everything's going to be piled up right in the middle. That's kind of where we're going now, where there's this trajectory where we'll have this 12, 14 people in the race. You're going to have a pileup. So what Romney's saying is jump out by the 26th. He's saying the Republican donors and Republican movers and shakers should put that pressure. But again, will the Republican Party collectively listen? That is a big question that I do not believe it'll be very difficult for them to.
Romney made a good point, which is in that voters don't listen to people like him, people that are in charge of the party apparatus. They don't listen to a lot of these endorsements. Campaigns listen to donors because they have to. When the money dries up, the campaign has trouble moving forward.
Right. Money dries up from big donors, but if you're sustained by small dollar donors, you can hang around for a while. And who draws small dollar donors better than anyone else on the Republican side?
Donald
Former President Donald Trump.
Right.
Unquestionably, that is true. Control room, I can't hear you, so tell me where we are on time. 90 seconds. Okay, good. We can keep this conversation going. Let's talk briefly about the DeSantis super PAC, because that's the other part of the campaign. Very well funded. Yeah. These layoffs were on the campaign hard dollar sign. Finn, what can you say about the health of that super PAC and its relevance to the future of the DeSantis campaign?
Well, that's the pro DeSantis. DeSantis supporters point to that. They point to this juggernaut of fundraising that the super PAC has.
About $130 million.
$130 million, which is a lot of money. They say they can still fuel it. They're doing this unorthodox way of really, placing the grassroots operation and other elements are typically part of the campaign component into the lap of the super PAC. So they're saying, hey, all our big moves, everything, it's all fine. They're encased in its fundraising. However, polling numbers, right? We're looking at everything that the CHP cited, everything you cited, a major. I mean, those are the telltale signs that they need to do more. There has to be more of a fix, perhaps.
Having money and the ability to spend it wisely and productively, that's going to be a huge test for the DeSantis campaign. Finn Gómez, CHP, otherwise known as Kaylin Huey-Burns,
right.
We thank you very, very much.